Good morning, everyone. It's hard to believe that almost 47 years ago, I walked into a Winn-Dixie to fill out that application. And I look back on that time as the foundation of who I became. I was the proudest bag boy, the best at double bagging paper bags, and quickly realized how important this shopping experience was to our customers. And so over the next several years, I became very enamored with the grocery business. And especially as I was getting there first thing in the morning to get the lawn chairs out front, to meet the bread delivery, to check in the bread delivery, and to check in the milk delivery in the morning. That was my first level of authority, in life. And over the next few years, I moved into the produce department. I loved working in produce. I enjoyed stocking shelves, unloading 1,800-piece trucks with the old steel rollers, and building a real camaraderie with the people in the store. And when I had the opportunity to join Coca-Cola Company many years ago, to be back in that business felt real. It felt right. And I'm so honored to be in front of such important people this morning here in Boone as part of the ECRS conference. What you do back home is not only important, it's very trendy right now. And I'm going to go through some facts that may illuminate how important what you're doing is, but also the importance of understanding the dynamic of the marketplace. Because we are in a rapidly changing industry. Nationals are coming in that are going after local and regional players. Online is now a preferred method of shopping by many consumers, preferred because it's such an easy play. But you have an opportunity to create a unique brand. And if there's anything that you take from this morning's discussion, I hope that you leave here thinking differently about your company, about your business, and about your customers. Now, how many of you stayed here at Blowing Rock when you arrived? And when you checked in yesterday, did you receive a surprise? And what was the surprise?
No water.
No agua. I stayed here, right? No water. Now, what's interesting about that, it's almost like ECRS set this up as a metaphor of why we're here. If I were coming to Boone to go camping, I would have had no expectations of running water. But I was coming to Blowing Rock, and I had expectations of water. Then throughout the day, what happened? Every hour, it was going to come on. Remember noon, remember 2, remember 3, remember 4, remember 5. Then you remember when your water came on, right? You were thrilled. A basic commodity was now back. And the moral of that story is that shoppers walk into your stores every day. And they have expectations. And their expectations are no bigger sometimes than running water. And when you meet those expectations, you not only build your brand, but you build your relevance as a partner in their life. Now, as leaders of your companies, I think that the most important thing that you will do is choose how you compete, choose how you merchandise, choose the people that you bring into your retail establishment, choose the way you communicate with your consumers, and choose the way you lead your organization. Now, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, leadership was really about multiple functions, and everyone was in charge of their world, and a leader could sort of meet monthly, have updates, and the business went fine. But anyone that's in here today that's a CEO of your company knows that you have to be involved deeply in each area of your business, don't you? You can't expect things to happen. Technology is a great example of that. If you are not really into how important technology is relative to your own shopper experience, you're missing the entire story. And over the next few minutes, I hope to share with you some backup on this and some proof that would suggest that you are in the shopper experience business. That's the business you're in, shoppertainment. And if you deliver excellent shoppertainment, you can differentiate your brand, you can differentiate your business, and you can not only win, but you can succeed greatly in today's business. We're in a now economy, and when we talk about succeeding locally and regionally within this now economy, it has a very different mindset than previous economies. So over the next few minutes, what we'll be talking about is what is this now economy, and why is it so important to understand the consumer landscape in America today? We'll step back and talk about 5 cohorts, 3 of which represent 2/3 of the population of America today, and how important they are to understand, and how that should shape a unique shopper experience. And then I want to spend a few minutes with you about positioning your brand effectively locally, and then introduce you to some thinking around the 4 E's of local retailing. So that's what we'll do over the next few minutes. Now, the now economy is fast, it's furious, it's hyperlinked, and it started 100 years ago. You were the original now economy. In the 1920s, the local grocer was where we finally could go rather than farming our own goods. And this became a place where right now I could go and get some food from local people I knew in the community, and I could not only get to know them, but I could trust them. This pharmacist not only helped heal people, but was there to provide advice, to provide medical attention to people that needed them, or even just a boost in their day with a good old fountain over to the side. On those special occasions, the local butcher was where you would go to choose a special cut of meat for that once a year or once a quarter family gathering. And even fresh markets were beginning to come up where you could go and actually buy fresh vegetables. So the now economy really began almost 100 years ago. But we come full circle to 2016, and there's something that's changed it. This little handheld device has completely disrupted the world of the now economy. Whether it's looking at 24-hour television networks where you can order all kinds of things to be shipped to your home, or whether it's going online to communicate an order, the now economy is all about on demand. So is it technology driven? You know, we can right now get a ride, we can stay, we can order a drink, we can push an Amazon Dash button, and that case of vitamin water will be at our house in a couple of days. Just push the button, Wi-Fi connected. Or is it consumer driven? Is it about wants and needs and desires and all of the consumer pull that's driving the now economy? Or is it experience driven, where we've allowed the doors to open due to poor experiences over time that said there's got to be a better way than waiting for a taxi at LaGuardia? Now, during my time with the Coca-Cola Company, I had the pleasure of working all around the world. I traveled 200,000 miles a year on Delta Airlines. So that ivory tower that Jeff referred to, I was rarely in. I mostly was out in the markets all around the world meeting with our customers and understanding what they were challenged with, whether that was a local store owner outside of Nairobi in Kenya, in the slums of Nairobi where we're at 50% unemployment, and he lived in the same building where he sold a tiny little window of goods, everything from hallucinogenic plants to packaged drinks. So one thing that I learned over time was that the difference between winning and just competing was the spirit of the operator. The spirit of that operator. Were they in it to win it? And what I mean by that, not financially, but on behalf of their customers, or were they phoning it in? I'll never forget sitting on the porch with a man who had heard I was coming all the way from Atlanta, Georgia to Kenya. And I was in his little tiny shop with dogs in the streets and standing water and trucks going by delivering potable water. He was running his business on a cell phone, living in nothingness, but was connected with pay systems so that he could order a few Cokes at a time to be brought down the street in a hand truck so he could be in business. But the truth is, the answer is yes. It's technology driven, it is consumer preferred, and it's experience led. And if you don't believe it, learn from iTunes. I'm a big Jackson Browne fan, have been for years. So I go on iTunes to load up my iPod to get Standing in the Breach, new album. My basket size going in is less than $10. But oh, here we go. Suddenly I'm reminded of Bonnie Raitt and Graham Parsons and Warren Zevon and Stephen Stills and all these other great performers that would be in the same class, and my basket size goes to almost $90. Thank you very much, iTunes. But I was the beneficiary because they personalized their offer to me. First question, how often do you personalize your experience to your shoppers? Now, the consumer landscape is fascinating. Those of us that have grown up waiting for the diversification of America from data, the research, U.S. Census Bureau, decade after decade after decade, it's here, it's happened, and it's real. 3 cohorts from millennials that were born between 1980 and 2004, then Gen X and the boomers represent 2/3 of the U.S. population today. And when we look at it, by 2020, almost 90 million millennials, 85 million homeland generations, which are younger than millennials, boomers and Gen X. And the reason this is important to your business is not so much the data. It's the attitudes that these different cohorts bring into your stores. How they think, how they're wired, how they're shaping the labor pool. 34% of your workers today are probably millennials. And they have expectations about their work experience that's very different than Gen X, and certainly different than the 29% boomers that are working today. 2014 was the first year where non-white births exceeded white births in America. And if you don't believe that, look at the Hispanic numbers, where 45% of Hispanics in America are under the age of 24. This is the youth of America coming up. So this diversification is here. The reason this is important is that that leads to fragmented consumer markets. A more diverse population wants more choice, more options, more flavors, more recipes, more of everything. So how does a local retailer handle a diversified business when you're in the SKU management business and in the inventory cost business? These millennials, of course, have never not had the internet. If you ever tell them to do this, they will just not know what you're doing. You know, right? They won't, right? Would you go? They're like, I don't know what you mean. I barely even want to touch this. They should know I want to change the channel. But 22% of these millennials are shopping in your stores. Congratulations. The question is, how do we get the other 78% in your natural food specialty stores? 70% of this group use a phone while they're shopping. While shopping. Now that may be to contact a friend, to look up recipes, to search for coupons, or whatever. And as they go through their experience, they demand self-service. Why do I need to deal with a humanoid species? Can't I just swipe it and get out of here? And if there's any friction between the online and the brick and mortar, you've lost them. They expect seamless, all the time. Now, their brand attitudes are interesting. The myth is that they're not brand loyal, and that's not true. They are brand loyal when you engage them on their terms, in a manner that they consume that engagement. They prefer brands that have a social media experience. They're influenced 2 to 3 times more than the average shopper by such messages. And only 3% of their entire media conversations even mentioned a brand. Less than 10% of their online conversations included a picture. So it's mainly text and words and back and forth. When a picture was included, it was not a good picture. It was a picture of a problem, generally, and occasionally a great wow moment. It's the bookends. There's no middle of the ground that gets photographed. It's either the bad experience or the awesome experience. Now, Gen X, poor Gen X, caught in the middle. That middle child, right between these hip millennials and those bad boomers, right? But what's interesting about this group is that they really do study. They're very knowledgeable shoppers. They want to know about where their money is going. They're thrifty by nature. They have great family values. And they don't care about keeping up with the neighbors. They are themselves. This is the perfect demographic for the do-it-yourself, fix-up-the-kitchen television networks, right? And then these boomers, the me generation, The most interesting thing about boomers is that there is a complete corporate brain drain occurring across America, where people that know the business, that grew up in the business, are retiring in droves. And the transition between the knowledgeable, kept it together group and the millennials who just expect it to work is sometimes fumbling between the two. Now, this is a happy generation in spite of being broke. They're very happy. They have very little money put aside, They're happy even though they abuse themselves and now they're healthy. I've read about these people. And don't kid yourself, they're tech savvy. Over 66% of them regularly buy online. And this is one of the most overlooked audiences you have because they can be and are brand loyal. They want a one-on-one experience. They're looking for more enrichment in their life. And they want to be healthier, but you need to show them how. Which leads to the shopper's choice. The fact is, shoppers today are equipped, they're informed, and they are ready for you. They take more insight from strangers on criteria with networks that critique products. They've never met anyone that's posted on Yelp. They've never met anyone that's posted on TripAdvisor. But they trust them more than the brand labels to get them the facts. But here's the first thing. Shoppers come in and Consumer Reports will show you the top 12 frustration points. You know these things. You live it. I lived it at Winn-Dixie, right? And it's hard to deal with. But when there are 6 cash registers that you invested in, and there's one that's open, and there's a management team walking around, how's your experience? Having a good day? Everything good? Open a damn cash register. Don't ask about my day because I'm standing in the person is, we're price check on aisle 2. The reality here is between out of stocks, even inept bagging, parking, etc. There are so many frustrations that when you do not deliver a frustration, you're already in the lead. See how that works? If you just eliminate a negative up front, you're already ahead of the other competitor that delivers negatives. Now I've got to give a shout out to my local hometown native son where I shop. Jax Beach, Florida. Brand new native son. Love it. The new store. But what's happening is the big guys, and we could have all kinds of names here, couldn't we? Longs, Ralphs, go down the list. They're not only watching what you're doing, they're adapting and pretending to do it now. Fresh, specialty, organic, seasonal. You may think that you're watching them to get ideas. All they have here is scale, but they're watching the cool stuff and bringing it back to Bentonville to strategize how to do this in Walmart neighborhood markets. If you don't believe it, on June the 3rd, 2016, Wall Street Journal announced that Walmart will go into a market test where she can just go ahead and go online and place an order. A drone is going to deliver that within a warehouse at this point. Beware of rooftop airports in the future. That will then allow an Uber Lyft driver to take it to her home. That's real. That's not Jetsons. It's happening. And this type of thinking will continue to disrupt the retail landscape. The question is, how do you as local become the new disruptor? How do you out-disrupt the disruptors? You throw these guys into it, right? And it just gets bigger, and it gets bigger. And this is prevalent, and it's going to continue to become the wave of today, the now economy. 52% of all retail sales are either bought online or influenced by online. And this year, Morgan Stanley expects grocery to represent $42 billion of about a $700 billion industry. And growing. And this is almost doubling over the prior year. So grocery is now in the game. And when we talk to these cohorts about buying groceries online and having them delivered to their home, 30% say, I already do that in the millennial. Why are you asking me? Why are we surveying this question? Do you buy online and have it delivered to my house? Of course I do. Largely urban. It helps in an urban area versus more rural. But in urban areas, this has become the trend. And then when you say, oh, by the way, if you haven't done it, do you think you'd be willing to do it sometime in the next 12 months? Almost 90% say, sure, why not? Gen X, almost 90%. Hallelujah, the boomers, still going to go to the store. Got to have something to do after that company laid me off. Let's talk about Omnizon. Omnizon, you may know them as Amazon, is now a $343 billion, I haven't checked this morning, $billion market cap business. The largest retailer in the world by market capitalization. Their revenue continues to grow up 75% since 2012. They're into primetime programming. They're competing with Netflix. They're into the cloud business to about a $4 billion tune and continue to redefine their online grocery market where they have over 25% share. I hate to tell you, I hope it's going to change. I sure hope that street doesn't stay closed another 2 weeks in front of my store. I sure hope the water comes on. I would hope for that water anytime. It's coming soon. You need a plan. And the plan should be, how can you and your teams become your shopper's top choice? When they really choose to go somewhere. You don't expect to have them all the time, every time. No one does. But when it matters, wouldn't you want your brand to be at the top of that list? When it's a family gathering, when it's a special occasion, at least start there. Don't you want them to come to your store, to come into your local market and be greeted warmly? Of course you do. And I would submit to you that this is an idea that you should think deeply about. Well, it's one thing to understand demographics, but if you can get intimately into her head, not about your store, but about her life, what she's challenged with, you have a chance to leapfrog over the national competitors. So she's at work. She knows she can't be late for daycare again. She knows she's got mom and dad at home. She knows that she's going to need to take work home with her again tonight, right? Just to get caught up. She has no idea what's for dinner, and she's burned out on the same old meals. So enter you. You may have her information right in front of you. Her loyalty card. You know about her. You know what she normally buys. You know how frequently she's in your store. You know how much her average basket size is. And by the way, your store is committed to fresh foods and delicious ideas for the entree. You're proud of the fact that you're working with local farmers and wild fish and farm-raised products. Your easy access. Hopefully you're thinking about how that packaging will differentiate that offering. And your retail systems could have the potential to personalize a solution for her, to communicate with her conveniently and deliver a seamless transaction. So let's imagine she's at work. You've already studied her shopping habits. You've just gotten in some beautiful California organic jumbo asparagus. You've just gotten in some beautiful local tomatoes. You've just gotten in local produce and local meats and what have you. You know that she never buys beef. So what if you put together a nice wild salmon asparagus dinner for her and just sent her a quick message on her cell phone? Just wanted to let you know that Jerry's Market this week has gotten a beautiful shipment of great wild salmon or North Carolina rainbow trout. We've got some delicious asparagus, and we can prepare you a dinner that you could pick up on the way home. Have a nice day, Miss Jones. If you'd like to participate in this, just let us know. Just text me back. She gets this at work. Suddenly, her average basket size, which is maybe $12 when she comes in for a quick dinner, with 4 people, goes to $75. You have not only solved her dinner problem, but you've proven to her that you know her, you care for her, and you're going to personalize solutions to make her life better. I can promise you your competitors are not sending her that detailed of an opportunity. Something for her to think about to make her life better. In order to do this, it's time for new capabilities. This is no longer the guessing game of business. It requires you to really leverage big data, to have the right kind of analytics in place, and to be able to make the right strategic choice. And I would hope that while you're here the next couple of days, you'll be thinking in terms of, yes, the technology, but also the customers that's going to make a difference in their lives for. And how could those two connect up? Now, how many of you understand brand positioning? Okay. How many of you operate a store? Okay, you are in the brand business. The truth is, either you position your brand or others will. So if you have a store and you don't think you have a brand, but I go in and I have an experience and I tell 20 people how bad it was, you've got a brand. It's a troubled brand, but it's a brand. A brand is a very interesting thing to talk about, because a brand discipline, positioning your brand, is both an art and a science. And there is a direct process by which brand managers work to position their brands to consumers. First, you've got to know who your target audience is and understand their needs and understand their desires. But it's bigger than a logo. It's about your current image in the marketplace. And the image of your brand is, how are you perceived in the marketplace today by your target audience. You already have it. If you are operating in the retail space locally or regionally, you have a brand image. I can promise you that. If I took 20 of your shoppers out into the parking lot and I said, what is your image of this brand? They would go on. Now the question is, what identity do you really want to stand for? And the identity is where you want to differentiate your offering versus your competition. Then how do you position it with the right marketing messages, with the right experience, and with the right strategy? So Apple is the largest brand today, $660 billion market cap, driven by innovation, international explosion, and ongoing continuous consumer loyalty. But you don't have to be big to be a successful, great, respected brand. These are just 4 that I studied and chose to share with you today. Stumptown Coffee Roasters, based in Portland, founded in 1999. This is a company that does specialty and cold pressed coffee. You may not have even heard of them, but locally they're very, very respected. Skinny Pop Popcorn, founded in 2010 with a market value of 0, today at $1.5 billion in 6 years. Acquired by a larger company. Skokie, Illinois, the home of many great startups. Tender Greens, a friend of mine actually is working on this. And this was founded in 2006. It's got 22 locations, and it's a farm-to-table dish in a fast, casual environment. What are you? Farm-to-store, fast, casual experience. But Tender Greens has decided to position their brand in a very cool, hip way that's attracting all kinds of restaurateurs. And you could throw any local, you pick your favorite beer, and it's a craft beer. But Fat Tire, once again, 100% employee-owned, 4th largest producer of craft beer in America, once again based in the heartbeat of big startups, Fort Collins, Colorado. And Asheville. That's right. That's exactly right. Thanks for your participation. So let's start now with what this kind of simple idea. What exactly is a brand? A brand is a promise to a core group of target consumers. Notice I didn't say a promise to everybody. Plus their experience with that promise that results in a relationship, be it good or bad. I had the pleasure of working with McDonald's all around the world for many, many years. McDonald's promise is very simple. Hot food served accurately for a good value from friendly people in a safe environment. I mean, this isn't hard. And when that is done, the consumer experience is positive and the relationship grows. But in a business that's now approaching 80% drive-through, by the time you open your bag, down the road, if that bag has got a fillet of fish and you wanted a quarter pounder, what's the remedy? Just drive on and send 20 messages to people about how bad that store was, right? So this experience really matters when it comes to the promise. The question already is, I'm hoping you're thinking, what is your brand promise? When was the last time you thought about that? Whether you have one store or 50. I know that you run great retail establishments, or you wouldn't be here today. You're the ones that care enough to be here. You're already in the top 1%. And you pride yourself in the stocking of your shelves and the look of your store and the people and what have you. But when was the last time you thought about the promise to your shoppers? Because that's your target. All of your revenue comes from those shoppers. Now, this is a brand I have loved for years, Chipotle. They really redefined fast casual. Stephen Ells, a tremendous leader in Denver, Colorado, started the brand, built it up over years. And the promise was what? Anybody know what the promise was? Food with integrity. Well, oops is right. I still respect Chipotle. I still think it's a great brand. However, when you have a promise of food with integrity and your food is unsafe to eat in certain stores, be it real or perceived or whatever, the experience drops. And in this case, so does the stock. I haven't checked today, but when I checked on Friday, it was down 43%, from a high of $758 a share to $426. A broken promise in the brand business is real hard to recover from. My former employer, Volkswagen, we all know about this, right? Turbo diesel engines. Self-inflicted wound. I mean, they were great to begin with. Why over-exaggerate the greatness of the cars? But that is a brand that has lost a tremendous amount of value. We can learn some lessons from successful brands. Who here has a Cooper, Mini Cooper? Who loves their Mini Cooper? What percentage of the market does Mini Cooper give up when they open the doors every morning in the U.S.? 99.8%. They're a 0.2% animal. But what happens is, because they know their audience so well, if you're an SUV shopper, you're probably, if you want a big truck, no thanks. And if they look at you and say, at the Mini Cooper dealer, I wish you were in the truck business, you can say, well, you can go down the street, because that's not who we are. They focus on their target audience, and they do not try to be all things to all people. And how many times do you do that as an owner or an operator of your business? I was in a co-op meeting with McDonald's many years ago. A local operator was using fried bologna on his menu. Frying bologna, right? It was against the menu. There was a big argument about fried bologna. They said, well, I've got like 3 guys that are never going to come back if I don't do fried bologna. Say bye-bye to the 3 guys, because fried bologna was off strategy for the entire brand. There was a story when Mr. Keller was CEO of Southwest Airlines. As you know, he was a real animated CEO and a great, great leader, well respected by his people. One day a letter came into his office, and it was from a flyer who wrote and said, Dear Mr. Keller, I just flew on Southwest Airlines, and it was the worst experience of my life. Your people were wearing shorts. They were making fun of the safety regulations, and I don't think you take flying seriously. Goes all the way up. You can imagine the regional manager had to trickle it all the way up to the head of the company. Everybody's worried about it. Mr. Keller writes a letter, posted in the big newspaper. Dear Mrs. Jones, we'll miss you. Mr. Keller. Successful brands make real connections. Ellen, I think, is a great example of a brand who's authentic, she's true to herself, she connects, she leads with authenticity. And consumers today actually want to know who they're doing business with, don't they? They want to know who's behind the product. What's the story behind the product? And you have a chance to tell that story uniquely. Successful brands communicate with great clarity and consistency. And in many ways, ingredients have become the new brand. People are looking at what's in products as much as what's on the label. Another lesson we can get from successful brands is you want to create an emotional bond beyond the functional benefit of your product. So Blake Mycoskie, I think, is a wonderful human being who started Tom's Shoes after going to South America and learning that so many children were shoeless. And his whole company is based on, for every pair of shoes we sell, we will donate a pair to a needy child. And over 500,000 pairs later, Tom's Shoes goes on very well. Passion and purpose. Remember when you started your business. Roll back that clock, whether it was 5 years ago or 50 years ago. What were you thinking? What was your first day like? Do you remember that energy, the passion, the excitement, the thrill of that cash register ringing, seeing how people came into your beautiful, clean shop, and you amazed them with the way you just cared for them? Do you have that same passion? I submit you do. But sometimes it needs a cold glass of water in the face to wake you up, because that passion can differentiate you in the marketplace. There was a picture there at one time, but great brands, successful brands, differentiate. They create something special, they create a unique engagement, and they surprise consumers. Branding is a topic I am passionate about. And I'm passionate about it not because of the promotional merchandising BOGO aspect of marketing. I'm passionate about branding because branding allows you to take a normal business and shape it and position it in such a unique manner that you can differentiate and stand out with your shoppers. And you can do it in a way that brings more shoppers into your store more frequently to spend more. You are in a very hot trend. Local is happening. Local is hot. I mean, I drive down the side of the road and I see little tarps with wild honey being sold on the side of the road. You know, it's everywhere you go. Local is in right now, whether it's a festival or a market. But something's occurred that's really interesting to me. The big guys, and you can put any picture you want in here. This happens to be a Florida-based company, Publix. But you could put in there any brand that you compete with locally. They're able to get 100% organic, non-GMO, gluten-free. And what happens is these product claims showing up here results in consumer confusion about what local really is. Well, I'm going, it's a bigger store. I can get all of my paper goods. It's a much more convenient shop. I can get local, and they're local, right? They're local. Publix is local. And if you allow that to occur, they are positioning your brand as just a small town player in a big disruptive industry. So my advice to you is you must own local authenticity in a way that is authentic for your own business. This is marketing when it comes to organic blueberries. Is that a sexy looking logo, label? No. Happens to be my brother-in-law, Dr. Gerard Crewer, grows these blueberries in Woodbine, Georgia. That's his label. And when these show up in the local store, they fly off the shelf because he's not trying to be anything more than just great organic blueberries. Local, delivered from the bush to the store in 2 days or the same day in his car. This is interesting unto itself, but when you then put a story behind it and you begin to let the shoppers know that that's not him, by the way. He wishes that was him. If you put the story behind the product, you've just leapfrogged right over those other generic logos. No GMO, organic. You've just let them know there's a local celebrity you don't even know about. He spends his whole time farming for delicious meat. And he puts his whole heart and soul into it. This is his story. Why are you should make local celebrities. And you should be the one to do it. not the celebrities. Because you can then bring the authenticity of a retailer that cares about local, but also delivers local with local celebrities. Merchandising categories, romancing categories. This is not a coffee aisle. This is a trip around the world where I can get any coffee that I want without leaving my hometown. It feels like a commodity setup. I can grind it, I can buy it, and it's in a very nice, beautiful store within a store. Your corners of your store are expensive real estate. And we know that the edge of the store is where all of the action has been. When was the last time you rethought the center of your stores and what that needs to be reconfigured to be? Even messaging on equipment, merchandising equipment that goes to an emotional connection helps consumers see what this product could do for them. People, I will tell you, if you don't define local, others will. They will define you right out of it. And they will show pictures, and they will show merchandising, and they'll price point beneath you, and it'll be a big win for the consumers. However, you are local. You are regional. You understand them better, and you should differentiate that. NPR continuously amazes me with their ability to be a national company, but when I turn on the local NPR radio station, it's always about the community. What's happening right here. Interviews with interesting people. And so they've done a great job of being national, but actually being local. Now, final stretch. I'd like you to consider your brand under 4 E's. The environment, the experience, the engagement, and ultimately your economics, because money matters. The truth is, when you enter the store, you enter your brand. So those of you that don't think you understand branding, you are in the brand business. When you walk in the store, frankly, when you turn off the street into your parking lot, you enter the brand. And you must think about activating the 5 senses and what they see walking in. I walked into a store recently. The shopping carts were stacked up in the parking lot. There were cups in the gutter. The garbage corral was open. You could see all of the garbage. I already had a frame of reference before I even walked in the brand. This store can't be that great. If they let the outside look that crummy, they must not be that great on the inside. And this environment is something you can control. Don't allow your economics to keep old, yellow, fluorescent bulbs between you and a great brand experience. The experience. Now, this is big for all of you that are here. Your ability to differentiate resides in your quantity of personalized solutions that you choose to deliver. Rather than just presenting inventory for anyone to choose, why don't you create personalized solutions for your shoppers? Obviously, friction is a problem. Friction is something like a long line and out of stock. Remember the 12 from Consumer Reports? That's all about friction. So you've got to eliminate the friction and then create a seamless process and accentuate your positives. This experience should have you thinking about what type of shopper occasions am I able to go after and target. And you have to realize, and you do this, that there are some shoppers that need information that are there for half an hour. She's not going to leave until she understands how this supplemental purchase is going to impact her life. She's got plenty of time. She's not worried about time, right? She's in a rush. She needs to look at the basket, carrying the basket. I got to get in here. I've got to get out. I got 3 kids going to soccer practice, and I need to get out. Her checkout occasion will be very different than her checkout occasion. What about the family stock up? Well, it's becoming more rare, actually, the stock up occasion. It's still there. And when that's happening, what a great chance to get to know the families, to enjoy sampling in the store, to show different ways. You've just gotten in this new shipment of great farm-raised chickens. You've got a new herb, spice ingredient that is great with this. What if you had that chef working right there in your store to bring that to life? And then the recipes are there, and you've got it all lined up right there, so it's a grab and go in the one location. And then, of course, deals and what have you. Now, engagement is different than it's ever been. Coupons were the original engagement idea. That's becoming a very tired idea, but it's still out. It's still there. But engaging with these different cohorts. Remember the 3 cohorts: millennials, Gen X, and baby boomers. Somehow, you must create a local connection that engages these shoppers on a regular basis on their terms and allow her to have a relationship with you even if it's online, especially when it's online. And once again, make it fun. And then economics. Obviously, at the end of the day, you're not in the pro bono business here. You are in the business of earning a profit, and you must earn a fair margin on your business in order to reinvest in your business and the community. But the question is, how are you growing every basket to allow you to invest more into the environment and the experience? That's where the big leverage resides. Now, the truth is, I think this whole conversation is about leadership. And it's about the choice that you as leaders will make regarding your own business and regarding your own employees. How well do you empower your employees to make decisions in the moment? How often do you ask a millennial, how should we try this? Because millennials want to co-create. They want to be part of that creation process. But if you've got a boomer boss and a millennial employee, you get this clash of the orders meeting someone that wants to co-create, and you're missing the leverage that those two could have together. One of the things that I learned in my 46 years since Winn-Dixie No. 5 is whether I was at Volkswagen or at the Coca-Cola Company, that we would have a market. I would travel to Singapore, and I would meet with the leader, and the leader would say, oh, it's really hard here. The new president of the country is in. The macroeconomic trends are horrible. Our cost of goods are going up. And I'd look at the business, and the results weren't that great. So that narrative kind of fit. Then I would say, let's go out in the market, and let's look around Singapore and see what's happening. Well, there's Pepsi everywhere. I'm with Coke. And I'd go back and say, well, it seems like Pepsi is not impacted by the macroeconomic problems here. Doesn't seem like they've slowed down. They seem to be growing. Well, one thing will lead to another. Over time, perhaps a new leader would be in that market. Suddenly, Coke starts growing. And it's because the spirit of that local operator was back. So as we bring this together, I want to first thank you for your time. I would urge all of you to embrace this now economy because you're actually beautifully positioned to win in this now economy. Yes, it's technology-led. Yes, it's consumer-led. It's actually consumer-led and technology-fed. And if you are in the consumer shopper business and you're not leading the thought on your technology engagement, and the technology of your business, then you're missing a big portion of your responsibility. And I think that the fact that you're here suggests that you're very interested in seeing what is out there that you may not even know about, that you could take home and use today. In conclusion, build your brand, position your brand or others will position you. Consider the 4 E's as a way to organize your thinking around your brand. The consumer demographics are so interesting today that the fragmenting of the marketplace is everywhere. So there's plenty of room for all of you to find a unique space to differentiate into that fragmented marketplace. And congratulations on being so committed to your communities. So with that, I will say thank you.